beautiful flight.
This all started over 200 years ago. This when man first flew was in 1783, and that first flight was in a hot air balloon. Most people think it was the Wright brothers who were the first to fly. They were first to fly an airplane, but the first flights were it was a couple of French paper manufacturers who had noticed that ash and scraps of paper and things would go up the chimney with the smoke, and they thought, you know, smoke must have some kind of magical lifting power. And they thought, you know, if we built this bag big enough, then and capture enough of that smoke, I bet we could fly. So they did some experimenting. They built a big paper bag and built a big fire underneath it with lots of smoke, and sure enough, it took off and flew. So they built a bigger balloon, put some farm animals in it.
Always the animals. Always testing on the animals.
No one knew if you could actually breathe up there, you know. And sure enough, they landed and they were safe. So they said, okay, we're on to this now. And the King of France actually commissioned all this experimentation. So they built a bigger balloon for people, and they were going to put a couple of French prisoners in the balloon. And if they survived, they were to be set free. And a nobleman by the name of Pilot du Rogier convinced the King of France that the honor to be the first to fly shouldn't go to a prisoner. So he and another gentleman, the Marquis d'Orléans, were the first aeronauts, the first travelers of the sky. And there were over 250,000 people that watched that first flight just outside of Paris. And Benjamin Franklin was there. He was the ambassador to France at the time. And it was a great success, and they landed successfully, and were lots of, you know, honor and respect for them. And so there were further flights, and it spread rather quickly throughout the world. And it eventually got to Ireland, and of course the Irish have a prayer for everything. So you know they had to write a prayer and to this day we always say the balloonist prayer after every flight. Champagne comes from many of those early flights. You know, they'd take off and they'd land in some farmer's field, and they'd never seen anything flying. You know, and they'd been in church, and the priest said, "Nothing flies but angels and demons." And lo and behold, over the hill comes this smoke-belching, fire-breathing demon landing in the field, right? And so they'd attack the balloons with their pitchforks and hoes and beat up the balloonists. So they started carrying champagne with them. You know, it's the drink of the day in France. And started carrying champagne to placate the farmers. Still works today sometimes.
Right.
But, so champagne's traditional with ballooning, and so then now we'll just say the balloonist prayer. The winds have welcomed us with softness, and the sun has blessed us with his warm hands. We have flown so high and so well that God has joined us in our laughter and set us gently back into the loving arms of Mother Earth. Amen.
Cheers. Amen. Cheers.
All right.